The most common advice we give each other about hope is don't get your hopes up. And I understand why we say it. It's armor. If you never let yourself hope, disappointment can't find you. But buried inside that advice is a mistake about what hope actually is, because that advice assumes that hope is something that happens to you, a wish you release into the universe, and then fate decides. The science says that premise is wrong. Hope, properly understood, is a skill set. It has 3 identifiable working parts. And in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you all 3. And then I'm going to show you the evidence that measuring them predicts who recovers after serious injury, who thrives at work, and who succeeds in school. I'm a critical care doctor and a researcher. Last week, I told you that hope isn't something we wait for. It is something that we do. Today, I'll show you the machinery behind that claim. A friend of ours grew up with a deeply superstitious grandmother. Whenever our friend said something like, "I hope I get a part in this school play," the old woman would spit on the floor and trace a cross across her chest. In her world, saying a desire out loud was tempting fate. We laugh, but most of us carry a milder version of the same armor. Don't get your hopes up. Don't jinx it. And here's something strange. The grammar of everyday English is in on the camouflage. When we use hope as a verb, we're usually wishing for something beyond our control. I hope it doesn't rain. I hope they pick me. But when we use it as a noun, suddenly it carries weight. He lost hope. She found hope again. We instinctively treat hope as something that one can possess, and losing it as a serious event. And our instincts are right. Over the last 3 decades, science has taken that capacity apart and found 3 working parts. In 1994, a University of Kansas researcher named Charles Rick Snyder published a book, The Psychology of Hope. You can get there from here. In it, he pulled hope apart and he introduced a framework he called hope theory. The book never got the attention it was due in its day, but its central insight may matter more now than when it was printed. Hope is not a feeling, not a wish, not a desire. Hope is a way of thinking that drives action, a cognitive process with 3 distinct components. We call them the 3 powers of hope. Power number 1, goal power. Goal power is future casting. Now, wishful thinking pictures the destination, the garage full of Ferraris and an infinity pool. There's nothing wrong with fantasy. Imagining life in a better way than it is today is a fine way to get the ball rolling. But hope does something more. It converts desire into a concrete goal. The goal can be aspirational, something good that you want, or aversive, something bad you want to avoid. Either way, what matters is that it's important enough to inspire commitment. And the more specific and vivid the goal, the more it motivates action. Power number 2, waypower. Waypower is pathways thinking, the ability to generate viable routes to that goal. Routes. Note, that is plural. Because from the outside, success looks like a straight line. It rarely is. It's a zigzag, snags, detours, trips back to the drawing board. Waypower means expecting that, expecting obstacles. You might have to get off the train and take a bus. You might have to get off the bus and walk. If you expect an easy path, the first roadblock may mean the end of your pursuit. If you expect roadblocks, rerouting around them is just part of the plan. Power number 3, willpower. Willpower is agency, the sustained motivation to stay on the path. People usually equate willpower with self-denial, skipping dessert. That is not what this is. Willpower is the commitment to keep marching toward a desired outcome and to bounce back from failure over and over. It's the energy that gets you moving and keeps you moving. And the absence of willpower has a name. Researcher Chan Hellman points out that the opposite of hope is not pessimism. It's not even hopelessness. It's apathy, the absence of goal-directed energy. Snyder called the last two elements the will and the ways of hope. And you need both. A goal without a route is just a wish. A route without the will to follow it is just a plan. Put into practice, high hope people share 4 core beliefs. 1, the future will be better than the present. That's optimism. 2, I play a role in how my future unfolds. That's agency. 3, there are multiple ways to get there. That's pathfinding. 4, there will be obstacles. That's anticipating. Notice 2 things about that list. First, optimism is on it as one ingredient of 4. That's the relationship I described last week. Hope begins where optimism stops, but it begins with it. And second, look at belief number 4. Expecting obstacles is not pessimism creeping in from the edges. It is part of hope itself. Realistic acknowledgement of the challenges ahead and the expectation of having to navigate around them, or over them, is precisely what separates authentic hope from blind optimism. Now, a fair question at this point, is this framework just tidy relabeling? 3 boxes with clever names? The test of a scientific construct is whether measuring them predicts something real. Hope passes the test. And here's the part that makes the chain airtight. Snyder didn't stop at theory. He and his colleagues built validated instruments directly from these components: the adult hope scale, the state hope scale, the children's hope scale, whose items map onto pathways and agency. So when the studies I'm about to show you measured hope, they were measuring the triad of hope theory, not a vague feeling of positivity. Study 1. In 2012, Johns Hopkins researchers followed 174 adults admitted to a hospital for physical rehabilitation after spinal cord injury or stroke or major orthopedic surgery. During the first days of their stay, every patient completed the Snyder Hope Scale and a standard measure of positive mood. 3 months after discharge, hope at the time of admission was an independent predictor of functional recovery, mobility, occupational engagement, reintegration into community. General cheerfulness or positive mood was not a predictor. After adjustment, a 3% increase in one's hope predicted a 4% increase in social reintegration. Hope theory predicted recovery. Mood did not. Sit with that for a second, because this is evidence that hope is more than a feeling. Study 2, in the workplace. A meta-analysis co-authored by Shane Lopez, a psychologist who trained under Snyder and became a senior scientist at Gallup, combined 133 effect sizes from 45 studies, including more than 11,000 employees. Nearly all of them used Snyder framework measures. The title of the paper is borrowed from Snyder himself, Having the Will and Finding the Way. Translated into plain terms, high hope employees were about 28% more likely to be successful at work and about 44% more likely to report good health and well-being compared to their low hope peers. Study 3, education. A meta-analysis of 45 studies involving 9,000 students, roughly 85% of which used Snyder Hope Scales. They found that higher hope was significantly associated with higher grade point averages, and the link was strongest in elementary, middle school, and high school students, the years when belief in yourself may be the most foundational. 3 domains: physical recovery, work, school. 1 framework, 1 family of instruments. And now the honest caveat, as I promised you last week. These are observational associations, statistically adjusted, but not randomized interventions. What they license is the word predicts, not the word causes, but a construct that predicts who walks again, who thrives at work, and who succeeds in school is not a taxonomy. It's a signal. Before I close, there's a hard case that this framework has to face. and I want to name it now, even though it deserves its own video. Sometimes waypower fails honestly. When every viable route to the goal is truly gone, the dream requires a set of circumstances that no longer exist. And the answer in that moment is not more willpower thrown at the wall. It's called re-goaling, the deliberate, often painful choice that a different goal is still worth walking toward. It can require radical acceptance, and a period of grieving the original vision of the future is normal. Shane Lopez put it in 6 words. Re-goaling is where hope meets courage. We're going to spend a full video there later in the series. One last thing about 1994. The same year Snyder's book quietly appeared, a movie about hope quietly flopped at the box office before becoming one of the most beloved films ever made. In The Shawshank Redemption, Andy Dufresne has a vivid, concrete goal. Freedom, a warm place with no memory. He has a pathway no one else can see and a chisel. And he had agency measured in decades. He chiseled at the wall of his cell at night for 19 years. His friend Red speaks for the other side of the ledger. Hope is a dangerous thing. It can drive a man insane, Red said. Goalless, pathless, Red even sabotaged his own parole hearings until Andy's escape activates something deep within him. Get busy living or get busy dying. Stephen King sets his stories in prisons for a reason, and the metaphor lands squarely on the science. Low hope is a prison of the mind. High hope is how we set ourselves free. The 3 powers of hope are not personality traits issued at birth. They are skills. And in the videos ahead, I will show you the evidence for exactly how they are built. If you want this in written form, with the citations for all the research papers and honest notes on what each study can and cannot tell us, it's in the Hope Effect series on Substack. It's free, and the link is right below. Keep chiseling.